Big box retail was supposed to be indestructible. The last survivors of the mall apocalypse, the giants too big, too wide, too connected to ever die. But in 2026, the cracks that started as hairline fractures have widened into full-blown ruptures. Shrinking foot traffic, online competition, inflation, insurance spikes, organized theft, corporate debt, and the silent killer behind them all, stores that cost more to keep open than they earn. Behind corporate press releases and strategic restructuring announcements lies a brutal truth. Some big box chains aren't restructuring, they're dying. Tonight we're exposing the 5 companies unlikely to survive the year. The ones quietly closing stores, slashing hours, begging lenders for time, and praying customers return. They won't say the word bankruptcy, but their balance sheets already did. 1. Big Lots, the discount giant bleeding out behind the scenes. Big Lots was never supposed to be a canary in the coal mine. It was the scrappy survivor, the chain that thrived when the economy crashed, the store people turned to when money got tight, the bargain bin empire that fed off chaos. In 2008, Big Lots soared. In 2020, it held steady. But in 2026, the same economic pressures that once made Big Lots strong are finally tearing it apart, because Big Lots has a fatal weakness nobody talked about. It only thrives when people have no money, but not when people have negative money. Inflation didn't help it. Shrinking foot traffic didn't help it. Rising theft didn't help it. But the final blow came from the one place Big Lots depended on most, the lower middle class American consumer, who simply doesn't exist anymore. Walk into a Big Lots today and you'll feel it immediately. The unsettling quiet, hollow aisles, half-stocked shelves, brand name leftovers that look like they were rejected from Walmart, then rejected from Dollar General, then rejected from a yard sale, employees outnumbering customers, a store layout that feels less like a retailer and more like a liquidation warehouse waiting for the end. The sad truth is, Big Lots didn't fail suddenly. It failed slowly, quietly, painfully. Years of declining sales, years of closing stores, years of taking on debt to stay alive, years of trying new formats that customers ignored, years of promising investors that a turnaround was coming, while the stock chart turned into a downhill ski slope. By 2026, the company is staggering under the kind of debt load that kills retail chains. Rent is rising, insurance is rising, shrink is rising, labor costs are rising, and Big Lots can't raise prices because its entire identity is cheap stuff for people who can't pay more. But customers aren't coming back. They're going to Amazon, Dollar Tree, Aldi, Walmart, retailers with better supply chains, better selection, better prices, better everything. Meanwhile, Big Lots stores keep shrinking, not just in sales, but in feeling. Lights dim to save electricity, fewer cashiers, more empty spaces on shelves, fixtures that look like they were bought secondhand from a bankrupt Kmart. You can practically feel the corporate exhaustion in the air. And then there's the worst part. Big Lots doesn't own its future anymore. It belongs to lenders. When a chain is losing money, losing stores, losing foot traffic, and losing investor confidence at the same time, bankruptcy isn't a possibility. It's a schedule. The closures have already begun. Hundreds of stores shuttered quietly. Entire regions pulled out of. Distribution centers operating at half capacity. Corporate calls it right sizing. Wall Street calls it terminal decline. Employees call it what it is. The slow death of a company that once had purpose. Big Lots won't announce it loudly. It won't wave a white flag. It'll simply keep shrinking until one day a press release drops saying the obvious. They ran out of time. They ran out of money. No, they ran out of customers. The discount king of the Great Recession is now the ghost of its former self. A big box nameplate hanging over empty aisles and fading fluorescent lights, waiting for the year it just doesn't make it through. And next, we move to a chain that already collapsed once and is now collapsing again. Party City is next. 2. Party City, America's celebration store that can't survive the hangover. Party City used to be unstoppable. Birthdays, graduations, office parties, Halloween, every celebration in America passed through its doors. For decades, Party City wasn't just part of the party industry, it was the party industry. But in 2026, the confetti is gone, the balloons are deflated, and the music has stopped. Party City is stumbling through the final stages of a collapse that started years ago, survived one bankruptcy, and is now circling the drain for the second and possibly final time. The decline didn't start with COVID, but the pandemic accelerated the fall like someone slamming their foot on the gas during a skid. Overnight, every reason Party City existed disappeared. No parties, no events, no gatherings, no customers. What do you sell in a world with nothing to celebrate? Dust. By the time America reopened, the damage was permanent. Debt piled up, suppliers left, customers found alternatives online, and Party City's greatest enemy emerged from the shadows: Amazon, the party store for people who don't want to leave the house. Then came the balloon shortage, and an actual global helium crisis that torpedoed Party City's most profitable department. A chain built on balloons couldn't reliably get balloons. You can't make this up, but the real cause of the 2026 collapse is simpler, harsher, and deadlier. Party City stores are empty. Walk into one today, and it feels like walking into a company that already died, but corporate forgot to lock the doors. A dozen lonely aisles, shelves half-stocked with fading themed plates from 2019, a wall of costumes that look like thrift store donations, employees wandering around with nothing to do, floors so empty that your footsteps echo. It feels like a liquidation sale even when it isn't one, and the customers who do show up, they buy one thing, maybe two. Never carts full, never big hauls, because people don't throw massive parties anymore. They don't decorate like they used to. Parents buy a banner, a cake topper, a few balloons, not $200 carts of plastic that ends up in the trash 24 hours later. Party City's entire business model depended on volume. Volume is gone. Meanwhile, rents are rising, insurance is rising, labor costs are rising, theft is rising, and Party City is bleeding money from every store that still dares to open its doors in 2026. The company's post-bankruptcy restructuring plan was nothing more than a polite obituary. Hundreds of stores closed. More closures are coming. Vendors want cash up front. Lenders are circling overhead. The brand is shrinking so fast it feels like time-lapse footage of a melting ice sculpture. Party City won't collapse with a bang. It will collapse with a quiet press release on a Tuesday morning. Following financial challenges, the company will wind down operations, and just like that, the place where America bought its joy will shutter permanently. No balloons, no banners, no celebration. The party ends not with applause, but with the sound of fluorescent lights shutting off. Next, we move to a company that isn't declining. It's flat out imploding. Rite Aid is next. 3. Rite Aid. The pharmacy empire in permanent freefall, Rite Aid isn't dying. It's already dead. It just hasn't finished collapsing yet. In 2026, Rite Aid has become the most visible symbol of America's retail decay. A pharmacy chain unraveling in slow motion, leaving behind dark storefronts, empty shelves, prescription deserts, and customers wandering through ghostly aisles wondering if the store is still open or if they walked into the wrong timeline. Rite Aid entered bankruptcy pretending it was a restructuring. In reality, it was a liquidation wearing a cheap coat of optimism. Corporate promised stability. Analysts pretended to believe it, but employees on the ground knew the truth. This wasn't a turnaround, it was a countdown. Walk into a Rite Aid in 2026, and the collapse hits you instantly. Half-lit aisles, entire sections wiped out, pharmacy counters with lines so long they look like refugee processing centers, stores so understaffed that one employee is running the register, the photo station, and the entire front half of the building. Shelves look like they're waiting for the last helicopter out of Saigon. Basic items, deodorant, tampons, detergent, Tylenol, are out of stock for weeks. The greeting card aisle feels like a funeral display. The freezer section hums like a power plant from the 1980s. The whole store smells like a mix of cardboard, fluorescent lights, and mild despair. And that's before you walk to the pharmacy counter, the heart of any drugstore. This is where the collapse is most visible. Pharmacies with signs taped up saying closed early due to staffing. Prescriptions delayed for days because the system is falling apart. Patients driving 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour because their local Rite Aid closed overnight with no warning. Entire neighborhoods are losing access to medication because Rite Aid is retreating faster than any modern chain in American history. But the root of the crisis runs deeper. Rite Aid is drowning in lawsuits, thousands of claims tied to the opioid crisis, each one a financial torpedo. Insurance premiums skyrocketed, shrink exploded, stores in major cities became loss centers. Rent went up, labor costs went up, debt went nuclear, and Rite Aid did the one thing companies do right before they vanish forever. They started closing stores so fast the corporate website couldn't keep up. A dozen closures a week. Whole districts shuttered, entire states losing half their footprint. It's not a retreat, it's an evacuation. The remaining stores barely hanging on. Corporate is selling off chunks of the company like it's auctioning furniture before the landlord changes the locks. And here's the harsh truth. Rite Aid cannot survive 2026. The math is impossible. The debt is terminal. The lawsuits are endless. The customer base has already moved on. And the stores look like fossils waiting for archaeologists. In a few months, maybe weeks, Rite Aid will do what dying chains always do. Issue a quiet, carefully worded press release saying the rest of the stores will close as part of a wind down process. And just like that, another American institution will vanish, not from one big disaster, but from 1,000 small cuts and one very large tax bill from reality. And next, we move to the ghost brand that died, rose from the dead, and is now dying all over again. Bed Bath & Beyond is next. 4. Bed Bath & Beyond, the zombie brand that still won't die. Bed Bath & Beyond already died once. Buried, eulogized, liquidated. The stores closed. The coupons vanished. The blue bags disappeared. And then somehow, through the bizarre magic of modern retail necromancy, the brand clawed its way back out of the grave. Not as a real store, not as the suburban giant it once was, but as a hollow online shell operated by Overstock. For about 5 minutes, people thought maybe, just maybe, the resurrection would work. It didn't, because the new Bed Bath & Beyond isn't a comeback story. It's a ghost wearing the skin of a company that used to matter. And in 2026, that ghost is flickering out. The revived Bed Bath & Beyond is failing for one simple reason. You can't resurrect a retail empire by slapping a familiar logo onto a website and hoping nostalgia pays the bills. Nostalgia doesn't buy blenders. Nostalgia doesn't fix shipping delays. Nostalgia doesn't rebuild supply chains. Nostalgia doesn't erase a decade of decline. Customers didn't want Bed Bath & Beyond because of its name. They wanted the aisles, the shelves, the browsing, the wall of kitchen gadgets no one needed but everyone bought anyway. Without the stores, the brand loses its entire soul. So what remains now? A website with generic products you can find anywhere cheaper. A brand clinging to life on marketing fumes. A business model that relies on people not realizing Bed Bath & Beyond is just Overstock cosplaying as a dead giant. Even worse, the online store cannot compete with the companies that killed the original Bed Bath & Beyond in the first place. Amazon, Target, Walmart, Wayfair. They have faster shipping, better logistics, real storefronts, lower prices, and actual brand power. Reviving Bed Bath & Beyond was like reviving Blockbuster as an app. Cute idea, doomed execution. And now the numbers are turning grim, falling website traffic, collapsing revenue, vendors pulling out, marketing budgets slashed, customer confusion so bad half the people think the site is a scam. The new Bed Bath & Beyond is stuck in retail purgatory, too dead to grow, too alive to bury, but losing blood faster every quarter. This is a company that already spent its final chapter. Everything happening now is an epilogue, a slow, sad fade out of a brand that once ruled American home goods, but could never adapt to the world that replaced it. At some point in 2026, the inevitable will happen. A quiet press release, a "we regret to inform you," a final liquidation of whatever inventory remains in the warehouses. No crowds, no farewell tour, no surprise miracle comeback. Just the end, again. And now we move to the fifth and final chain, a company with devoted fans, a gentle brand, and a customer base aging faster than its business model. Jo-Ann Fabrics is next. 5. Jo-Ann Fabrics, the craft store caught in a perfect storm of decline. Jo-Ann Fabrics was never loud, never flashy, never dramatic. It was the cozy chain, the soft place in retail where grandmothers bought quilting fabric, crafters stocked up on yarn, teachers grabbed supplies for classrooms the district wouldn't fund, and hobbyists wandered the aisles touching textures instead of screens. Jo-Ann wasn't built for chaos, it was built for calm. But the modern retail world isn't calm, and by 2026, Jo-Ann Fabrics finds itself trapped in a storm that hits from every direction at once. Economic pressure from above, demographic collapse from below, and a digital world that simply doesn't care about thread counts anymore. The truth is harsh. Jo-Ann's entire customer base is aging out, and the younger generations aren't replacing them, and the retirees who once spent hours browsing patterns are downsizing. The millennials who might have taken up sewing never had the time. Gen Z, they're not buying fabric, they're buying fast fashion. That demographic shift alone could kill a craft chain, but Jo-Ann is facing much worse. Start with the stores. Walking into a Jo-Ann in 2026 is like walking into a time capsule that's been abandoned for a few years. Dim lighting, carpet older than half the customers, displays from the Obama era, empty shelves where dyes or sewing machine parts should be, a silence that feels almost holy or post-apocalyptic. The aisles are wide, the customers are few, the energy is gone. Then there's the location problem. No, Jo-Ann stores are almost always in dying shopping centers, the kinds of plazas losing anchors, losing foot traffic, and losing reasons for customers to stick around. If the store next door is dark and the one across the lot is boarded up, Jo-Ann suffers right along with them, and the financials, nightmare fuel. Jo-Ann entered bankruptcy already drowning in debt, but the restructuring didn't fix anything. Sales kept dropping, costs kept rising, suppliers demanded better terms, insurance spiked, shrink doubled, labor shortages hit the stores that were already running skeleton crews. Worse, interest rates turned Jo-Ann's debt into a millstone. Every quarter, more revenue went to lenders, leaving less for inventory, staffing, renovations, the very things the chain desperately needed to stay alive. Meanwhile, the competition is everywhere. Amazon undercuts Jo-Ann on basic supplies. Walmart steals the casual crafters. Michaels steals the enthusiasts. Etsy steals the inspiration. TikTok steals the attention span. Jo-Ann is trapped in the middle. Too big to be boutique, too small to compete with giants, too slow to thrive online, too outdated to attract the young. And 2026 is the year everything converges. Store closures accelerate, vendors pull back, landlords lose patience, customers disappear, and corporate quietly prepares for what everyone in retail already knows. Jo-Ann Fabrics doesn't have the runway to survive much longer. The chain will fade away the way it lived. Softly, a store here, a store there, a press release no one reads. One day you'll drive past your local Jo-Ann and realize the sign is gone, the windows are papered over, the parking lot is empty. No drama, no spectacle, just the slow end of one of America's gentlest chains, a casualty of an economy that no longer makes room for slow, quiet, creative retail. And with Jo-Ann's fall, another piece of the old American retail landscape disappears, leaving behind a world with fewer textures, fewer colors, and a whole lot more empty shopping centers.